on this meeting. And here we are meeting together one more time, as it turns out. We've been doing this for a few weeks now, months and years, literally. And
any more afterward?
Yeah, it's pretty fun what we're doing. So glad to have you all who have made it here. And I think I might have seen a new face or a new name, but perhaps not. If there's someone new, maybe you could unmute and say how you found out about the classes. And
hi, my name's Kay Yeri, and I found out about the classes from my doctor.
We're thrilled to hear that, Kay Yeri. And was that a Oregon Medical Group doctor, perhaps?
No, it was Peace Health Cardiology.
Ha.
Oh, great.
We're thrilled, you know, when we get more than one group of physicians who's made the decision that these are important classes. So welcome. And
thank you.
Scott will kind of go through the website maybe a little bit for you so that you get oriented, so you can kind of do whatever you want on your own time. And then if you want some extra help, we share information for free. Everything we do on this site is free. And we even have medical students who help kind of talk about food choices or help in transitioning. So whatever you might find valuable, stick with a few classes, see if it's something that will work for you, and then you can decide.
And hi, we're also new. The screen says Angela Hickman. It's the Noonan family. We're all here. We were recommended by our doctor at OMG. So yeah.
Great.
Welcome.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a family with 2 teenagers. So just
okay, so the teenagers can be a bit of a challenge because, you know, they're used to doing things how they want to do things, and change, just like for all of us, can be a little bit difficult, but you can have your hands full. So you may need to go gently with that issue, but welcome.
Well, we got to have them both sitting here in front of the computer listening. So yeah.
Great. So we are thrilled to have them here, and we'll try to have some fun tonight for him. Okay, so is there any thoughts from anybody here who might encourage the 2 new people as to why they might want to stick around for another session? Anybody have any thoughts as to why you chose to come back here?
Can I say something, Charlie?
Of course, Trouty.
You know, it means their life, because what we eat means extending our life. And it is very important that we take in this knowledge, because everybody would like to have life, right? So it is very, very important that we pay attention to it.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And is there anyone else who has something they want to share?
I'd just say you cannot do it on your own. You're going to be facing constant question your sanity.
Yeah.
Like how can you? What do you do for protein? Where do you get your protein? I generally just say, where does the cow get it? So. But there's a lot to know. This class, I tell people it's a nutrition class. I can't believe what I've learned in a year. There's just in conversation, let alone the prepared lessons. So anyway, I think you got to have a support team, and this is mine. So welcome. We hope you enjoy this.
Thanks for sharing that, Ken. Trouty and
love having you,
Dolly. Go ahead, Dolly.
And it's easy while you're transitioning. Before I knew everything that I'm supposed to do, you find that there's all kinds of whole food, plant-based substitutions for things that you might really like and would miss in a standard American diet, but you don't have to miss it. It's much healthier and has a very good flavor to it.
Thank you for sharing that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to have Scott. He's going to kind of run you through the website and orient you to that. And he has some other information, and then we'll keep going on.
All right. Share my screen here. Let's go back to the website. So if you're assuming if you have the flyer you got either from the Peace Health Cardiology or if you got from Oregon Medical Group, you probably found out about this website, livelifestylemedicine.com. So if you haven't, I'd recommend writing that down or saving it on your desktop. And so the first thing you might want to do is, this is the home page. If you are new to the classes, just scroll down here and click and watch this website tutorial. So it's about 17 minutes. I recorded it, and I give you a full tour of what's all available on this website, all the different resources and things, and where the class archives are. We record them, and so you can go all the way back to the beginning classes if you like. If you want to start over at the beginning, you can start watching those, or you can wait till January 3rd. We're going to start the whole series over again, and this coming January 3rd. So. But if you don't want to wait and you want to go to the class archives 2022, you can go back and actually you can see all the different topics, and we'll be repeating all these next year. But you can see, like if you have a specific interest in heart disease, we have a class specifically on heart disease and stroke. And for the kids, we actually have plant-based diets for pediatrics and families that are right here. We have a two-parter by Dr. Eric Colgrove, who's a pediatrician at Oregon Medical Group. And so you can watch those if you're particularly interested in that topic. Diabetes, all different ones. So I won't go through them all here, but because I go through them a little bit more detail on the tutorial. But I just wanted to show you that. And then so do that if you're new, and you can also subscribe to the weekly class newsletter. And if you're not getting that already, you should get a welcome email and then an email from me every Sunday morning. And I put a disclaimer here because a lot of times people don't check their junk file. And so I've had a lot of patients say, yeah, I was getting your weekly emails, but I stopped getting them. And then they find out when it was started to go into their junk file. And so sometimes it'll go to like even my wife, it'll go to her junk file once every 4 or 5 weeks for some reason, and but the rest of the time it doesn't. So definitely check your junk file if you're not receiving the weekly class email. So there's that. And then I wanted to let everyone else know on the Nutrition and Medicine lecture series. I did just yesterday posted the weight loss one from Chef AJ for Charlie's medical school, medical student nutrition and medicine course lecture series. So I got that posted. So if you missed that live a couple weeks ago, we have it. I have it posted here now, so you can watch it anytime you want. So that's there.
I might add, Scott, that for those of you who want to hear some real stories from real people, you may want to listen to this session here. It was a pretty good session for the new people who have questions about, can we really benefit from doing something different with what we eat? You'll learn a lot by listening to this first session. And then if you're interested in weight loss, this was good. And then if you have diabetes, this lecture is good. But this first one on real people, real stories, I'd encourage you to take a listen to that one.
Yeah, it's a great one. Yeah, right here, September. So they're all here and you can watch them anytime. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys was under the recipes tab. Just a reminder, since we're coming up on the holidays here, I have this right here, the holiday meal planning and recipes right here. This is from Mary McDougall. John McDougall's wife, and it's from a few years ago, back in 2014, but it's really well done. And she has recipes. And what, not only does she have recipes, you know, pumpkin soup and salad, stuffed pumpkin. There's a whole bunch of different holiday themed recipes here, but and mashed potatoes, but also how she has it down towards the end is she not only has like a shopping list, but she actually gives you tips on how to prepare everything. Like, you know, do this 1 week before, do this 4 days before, do this 3 days before. And it's just really well organized, really well done by Mary McDougall, who's been cooking whole food plant-based since the 1970s with John McDougall. So check that out on the website there. Yeah, here's the shopping list, shopping tips, and then the pantry items, all the different things you need. Then here's your time schedule: 1 week ahead, 3 days ahead, 2 days ahead, 1 day ahead, what things to do to prepare all those different things. And so yeah, just thought it'd be a good resource for you guys with the holidays coming up. You know, you could use these for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Kind of the irony is, and we can talk about this at maybe one of the open forums coming up on the holidays here, is that it's actually one of the times of the year it's probably easier to eat healthier, more whole food plant-based, because that's, when you look at the statistics, that's probably the most whole foods that most Americans eat. You know, you're eating, you know, more vegetables and potatoes and you know, just all the other side dishes, cranberry sauce, and just kind of more whole foods. We're not, you know, we're not eating cheeseburgers and chicken wings. You know, we're actually eating more whole plant foods for the most part. So it can be really easy to adapt typical traditional holiday meals to more whole food plant-based. So just wanted to share that. I think that was it that I wanted to show today for the website. Take it away, Charlie.
Okay, so we want to talk just briefly about, for those who are new to the class and you wonder, you know, is this sort of fringe kind of information that you're receiving? What's the science behind this? And for years, it's kind of been looked upon, food as medicine is not being mainstream medicine. But in the Eugene Springfield area now, we want you to know that there are what, 27 or close to
37.
37 providers. 37 providers, meaning doctors, physician assistants, and you know this better than I do, all the different kinds of doctors and stuff. Maybe you could run through that with them briefly.
Yeah, so we have primary care providers, we have cardiologists, we have pediatricians, we have dietitians, we have physical therapists, we have nurses and diabetes educators and health coaches, we have surgeon, you know, interventional cardiologists. So we have all pediatric cardiologists. We have all kinds of we're just well represented, and they're all supportive, and they understand the importance of food as medicine and a mostly whole food plant-based diet. And we're called Eugene Plant-Based Providers. And I had a link to that website on the homepage of the website I just showed you there. So you can check that out. And we have free community events throughout the year and more to come in 2023. But this past year, we just had a booth at the Eugene Health and Wellness Expo at the fairgrounds a few weeks ago. We had a walk every month in the community. We've done grocery store shopping tours with our dietitians, and all this is all for free. And we're tentatively planning to have a movie night in February, and we've had a potluck, and we're going to have a lot more community events, cooking demonstrations, and lots of more educational and community events coming up in 2023. So we're just not only trying to educate everybody here in these classes, but we want to bring everybody together and have a support system and create a culture of health and food and lifestyle medicine as the main treatment to prevent and reverse health conditions, chronic diseases and things. And it's one thing to know what to do, but you need to know how to do it, and to have a support and a culture of people around you that are we're creating our own tribe here with these classes. And, you know, we can only do so much in the Zoom classes, and that's why we want to start doing more things in the community. And that's where Eugene Plant-Based Providers come in. And we are actually now an official 501c3 nonprofit. As of November 1st, we're official, and we have a bank account open now at Oregon Central Credit Union, and eventually we'll have a donor page on the Eugene Plant-Based Provider website, just because so that people can tax deductible the donation, just to be able to, even though we don't charge for anything we do, it does cost money to like have the booth at the expo and to maybe do a teaching cooking demonstrations, and we have to rent out spaces to do certain things. So there is some cost associated. And all the providers that have been active, we've been, putting out our own money to do a lot of the things we've done so far. So so that's just, now that we're an official nonprofit, we can do more and more for everybody.
Thank you, Scott. So for all of for the new people and the people who are relatively new, we Scott and I have been doing this for many, many years. For ourselves personally, over 10 years each, I think now.
I'm at 10. I'm at 10 in December, and you're always a year ahead of me. So you're almost to 11 now.
It's been a long time, and we've been teaching classes for me about a year after I started, and for Scott, somewhat similar, I think.
About 4.5 years now for me.
4.5. We've been teaching these classes. We've been doing them for free. We plan on continuing them for free. We've been doing them together on Zoom when we couldn't do them in person with COVID. When as the number of cases fall below a reasonable level, we'll be back probably at Riverbend Annex doing some in-person classes, but maybe sooner at some other place, like you've been talking about, maybe doing a movie event at the church, whatever. So anyway, we feel these are important enough. People don't like to pay any money to learn how to get healthy. We've kind of come to that conclusion. We understand that. And yet we feel this is too important an issue to just let slide and let people find out on their own the benefits of treating the root causes of their chronic problems. And the chronic problems we're talking about are our number one killer is heart disease. And for those of you who are not aware, there's been 2 studies in the world literature, Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who have demonstrated in their studies that you could not only stop heart disease in its tracks, but you could reverse the clogging inside the coronary arteries. That is what impressed me the most when I made the transition almost 11 years ago for my wife's sake, who has a strong family history of heart trouble, and she was next in line. She has no evidence of heart disease. We're in our 70s now. And for our personal family, it's been a definite benefit, but also for the many people who have taken these classes. And I think the numbers it used to be in the hundreds, it's in the thousands now. People who've taken these classes, the testimonials we get from people who say they're so happy that they got off of high blood pressure pills, cholesterol lowering medicine, diabetic medicine, sometimes pain medicine or anti-anxiety medicines, that they're feeling better, they're losing weight down to an ideal body weight instead of having to deal with the obesity epidemic, diabetic epidemic. So there is a definite reason why you might choose to continue to research these. If you can't make it to the classes on Tuesday nights, go to the website like Scott just showed you and look at the archive sessions. Go to Physician Committee for Responsible Medicine or Dr. Greger's site at nutritionfacts.org and learn this on your own for your sake, your family's sake, your friend's sake, and ultimately it's the world's sake, because many people don't realize the impact that eating livestock, raising livestock for our food source contributes more to global warming than all of our transportation. It's the one thing that we could do to really help stop global warming from progressing. One of the easiest things we could do is transitioning our diet. So with that said, we're going to go back to our questions, and then we'll open it up intermittently to see what you have to say, whether you have questions, and we'll take them. These classes are for you. So we don't want to hog the whole show, but I do want to carry on. We have a list of questions here, which Scott has placed on the website. I can't remember where you placed them, but they're there.
It's under, you click on the resources tab, and then you go to the sub tab, handouts from classes, and then it's down at the bottom. You'll see this is the question and answer summary, and they're there.
So the questions are a list of 35 that we think everybody who's been through these classes should learn about, and so that they can answer questions for people who ask them things. And we talk about things like who do you trust for your information, because it can be very confusing as you're reading through and trying to become healthy. One article says that coconut oil is good, and another one says it has too much saturated fat. So you need to learn who to trust. We have developed some sources that we trust over the last 10 years, and we give you the reasons why in these classes. And then if you go through and keep answering these questions, by the time you get done, you'll have a pretty good knowledge base. So where we stopped at our last class here is we had talked about the benefits of allium group and cruciferous group. The cruciferous is the broccoli and kale and cauliflower. They have kind of like a flower that looks like a cross, so they're called cruciferous, and they're one of the best anti-cancer fighting group of vegetables. But there's even a better group, and that's the allium group, which is garlic and onions and leeks. So if you've got a problem that you're worried about cancer, you really want to learn about these, and you want to incorporate them into your diet. We're going to be talking about nutritional yeast next. It doesn't sound like a very appetizing subject, nutritional yeast, but it can add flavor to your meals. It can give you a slight cheese-like flavor, which we use this on popcorn, and we've used this on various other meals. We used to use a very little amount, now we use a lot more of it. Nutritional yeast is it adds nutrients, but it also has other benefits. So with that said, I want to play a video. Let's go down to 23 here and get on with the program, because we like to kind of share videos with you as opposed to just talk. And this is 23 is cheese flavor. So let's take a look and see what history says about this. And it's specifically on fighting cancer is what this video is about, but has other benefits too. So here we go. I guess I need to push play.
In an article entitled "The Treatment of Inoperable Cancer," it was noted that 200 years ago, it was observed that a certain number of malignant growths disappeared after an attack of a type of strep infection. And that was 200 years before 1901, when this was published. A disproportionate number of cases of spontaneous tumor regressions have followed various infections. The thought is that an infection may kind of so rile up the immune system, the cancer may get caught in the crossfire, a phenomenon that may have inspired healers dating back to the ancient Egyptians thousands of years ago. But you don't know until you put it to the test. though it wasn't formally studied until the 1800s, when doctors started intentionally infecting cancer patients. The most famous proponent was William Cawley, the so-called father of immunotherapy at what would eventually become Memorial Sloan Kettering. He was convinced that having a severe infection could cause cancer to regress. So with a great deal of courage, he started injecting cancer patients. The problem, of course, is that causing infections is quite dangerous, and 2 of his patients died. However, their tumors did shrink. If only there was a way we could boost the immune system without killing people. Well, that's the theory behind therapeutic cancer vaccines, one of which has been in practice for decades, squirting a weakened bovine tuberculosis bacteria into the bladders of patients with bladder cancer to make the immune system attack, boosting long-term survival up to 36%. Okay, but is there something we can eat that can boost immune function? In my videos on countering stress-induced immune suppression and preventing common childhood infections, I reviewed evidence about a type of fiber in bakers, brewers, and nutritional yeast called beta-glucans, which are considered immunomodulatory compounds, suggested to enhance the defense against infections and potentially cancer. Beta-glucans themselves do not appear to have a direct cytotoxic effect in terms of killing cancer cells, but may boost anti-tumor immunity by activating our immune cells. For example, if you take freshly excised tumors of breast cancer patients and let loose natural killer cells upon them, they can kill off a small percentage of the tumor cells, but first prime them in vitro with some yeast beta-glucans, and they become 5 times more effective at killing cancer cells. What if you just eat it, though? When 23 women with metastatic breast cancer were given just a 1/16 of a teaspoon of nutritional yeast worth of beta-glucans, they experienced a 50% increase in the number of monocyte white blood cells in their bloodstream, which are part of our natural defenses, as well as a significant increase in their activation. But it was just a 2-week study. The clinical significance of this finding is unclear. What we want to know is if they actually live longer. The only English-language randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial of breast cancer patients in beta-glucan was more of a wound-healing study, where they found that the women taking beta-glucan healed so much faster after surgery that the tubes could be removed from their chests and armpits, in some cases days earlier. This was the first clinical study to demonstrate improved wound healing using oral beta-glucans. The other 2, showing benefits for pediatric burns and leg ulcers, were performed using topical beta-glucan preparations, putting it on the skin directly, something that did not appear to reverse precancerous skin lesions better than placebo. But that's because the placebo cream worked so well, too. Both groups showed a significant reduction. They speculated that since each patient acted as their own control, putting the beta-glucan cream on one arm and the placebo cream on the other, that the application of beta-glucans on one arm may have been absorbed into the system and helped on the other arm, given that symptomatic effects have been noted following topical administration. But what effect might oral beta-glucans have on the progression of internal cancers? Yeah, oral yeast beta-glucans can cause dramatic tumor shrinkage in mice, but there appears to be only one human study published in English. 20 patients with advanced cancer on chemo were given a beta-glucan supplement in an open-label, uncontrolled trial. 60% of the patients supposedly reported a sense of well-being while taking the beta-glucan and asked to remain on the treatment after the completion of the study. But that just sounds like classic placebo effect. Same thing with reporting being less tired. But this is interesting. One patient with lymphoma and enlarged lymph nodes in the neck, who delayed his standard chemotherapy for 4 weeks during the study, noted a marked reduction in the size of the nodes while taking the supplement alone. So this, one kind of anecdotal case is interesting, especially since there are no side effects, but not exactly revolutionary. In Japan, There have been more than 20 randomized controlled trials on the use of beta-glucans as an adjunct cancer treatment, which evidently show an enhancement of chemo or radiation therapy, resulting in a positive effect on survival and quality of life. For example, there was evidently a study on taking a yeast beta-glucan supplement to help cancer relapse after surgery. There were no relapses in the treated group, compared to about 1 in 5 in the control group. Even more intriguing, yeast beta-glucans for inoperable cancer patients, end-stage cancer, since only about 1 in 20 patients made it 3 months, and by 6 months, they were all dead. Whereas in the treated group, most survived for more than 3 months. Not 1 in 20, but most, and 43% were still alive after 6 months. Now, evidently, it's not clear how patients were divvied up into treatment versus control groups. If they weren't randomly assigned, they may have inadvertently cherry-picked healthier patients for the treatment group, which could explain the results. Now, I've looked for this study everywhere, so I could get it translated, but even the National Library of Medicine couldn't find it. If anyone out there can, though, I'll do a follow-up video. But the amount of beta-glucan they used is what you'd find in a single pinch of nutritional yeast, which would cost less than a penny, and the only side effect would be tastier popcorn. So why not give it a try?
So if you haven't heard of it, we haven't played that video for you at all, but I thought it was an interesting one. I like nutritional yeast now, and but the name of it sounded pretty bad at first. I thought it was something that you just use in baking or something. There's a baker's yeast. And any thoughts on this so far? What if we stop for a moment? I'm gonna just check and see if anybody has any questions about nutritional yeast or any experience with it.
So it is in bulk at most places. It's in bulk at most grocery stores, Fred Meyer, Market of Choice in the bulk section. And then I just wanted to add that there was a more recent study came out. So when they took patients or people that had run marathons, and you know how when people do really long endurance events, you're more prone to getting sick, to getting a cold after your immune system's run really down when you've done a really long endurance event. Giving was a randomized controlled trial, giving nutritional yeast to marathon runners. It was, I don't remember the exact percentage, but significantly reduced risk of developing a cold virus after a marathon if you just did some nutritional yeast. So it does kind of reinforces what he was saying there, and it improves the immune system. Did you have a question, Trouty?
It just answered. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sure.
It was Fred Meyer's the bulk section, and where else?
Yeah, pretty much any bulk section. We just bought some today at Market of Choice because we fill up our container with it, and I put it on my salads, on my pasta, my stir fries, kind of anything that I used to think about putting Parmesan on or something like that. I would just sprinkle some on top.
Yeah. How much is it?
That's a little spendy. It's a little spendy by the pound. I can't remember how much it is by the pound, but it's so light, so it's it lasts a long time. So it's not like
cheap, but you can also get it at Winco in the bulk section at Winco, and I don't think it's more than maybe $7 to $10 a pound. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I recall it being relatively cheap, and I've been buying it for years.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Bulk section, okay.
Okay. All right, great. So let's go back to, that was 23. So we're going to back this direction to question 24. Vitamin B12, vitamin D3, medium and long chain fatty acids. Do you supplement? Don't you supplement? What do you supplement with? So this could be a fairly long discussion, or you could actually go to the videos. And if you're choosing to just eat plants, And even if you're eating meat or animal products these days, the amount of vitamin B12 that you're getting has been significantly reduced because of the amount of Roundup we've been using. We've killed off a lot of bacteria, which are the organisms that produce vitamin B12 in our environment. So most everybody likely should be taking a supplement. For those under age 65, vitamin B12, it would be 2,000 micrograms once a week. And for those over age 65, it would be 1,000 micrograms per day. And the videos are listed here, the best way to get vitamin B12 and then about vitamin D and other things. Does anyone have any questions about supplementation? Because this is, we generally always have some kind of questions about it. People get confused or whatever, a lot of misinformation. So now would be a good time to kind of clarify this. Anybody have any?
So I have a question.
Yes, Dorothy.
Is there a difference between the sublingual B12 versus just the regular oral B12?
Yeah, it'd be
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, it'd be best to take the sublingual if you have a choice. But if you can't get a hold of sublingual B12, I just buy mine online on Amazon. But if you can't find one and you just happen to have the oral swallowing one, as long as you don't have really bad acid reflux and are not taking acid reducers such as Pepcid or Prilosec, if you're not on an acid reducer and you don't have acid reflux symptoms, you'll be totally fine taking it and swallowing it, not doing sublingual. But if you do have heartburn and you take an acid reducer, then it's even more important to take the sublingual because you need stomach acid, intrinsic factor in the stomach acid to absorb B12. But if you do it under your tongue, most of it's getting into your bloodstream through your blood vessels under your tongue. And so then you would want to make sure you take the sublingual type, but otherwise, either way is fine.
There is a subgroup of us older folk who tend to produce less intrinsic factor, like Scott mentioned. Mm-hmm. And so it would probably be more important for the older age group, or like he said, taking medicines that reduce the acid in your stomach, for us to be taking sublingual form. And I think, I don't know if you mentioned cyanocobalamin versus methylcobalamin.
No, go ahead.
So Dr. Greger recommends doing the cyanocobalamin. I didn't like the concept of taking a pill that had some a cyanide molecule. Sounded like I was poisoning myself. But as I've done the research, there's so little of that in the vitamin B12. And it's safe. You're not going to cause yourself cyanide poisoning by taking this. And a number of people buy methylcobalamin. They think that it works just as well. And frankly, I took methyl for a couple of years and I was fine. But the studies that actually showed benefit were done with cyanocobalamin, not with methylcobalamin, and that's why Dr. Greger recommends that preparation. Doesn't mean methylcobalamin might not work for you, but the science shows cyanocobalamin at this point. Any other thoughts on that, Scott?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, Nancy, you got your hand up. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was trying to find it. So I had so the research was done on the cyano version, but is there any reason to be concerned about the methylcobalamin version?
The only
I asked because that's what I have. I have vegan.
One way to solve that problem is just to buy both. And then maybe 1 week or one day take the cyano and another day take the methylcobalamin. Because the one caveat to the benefit to the methylcobalamin over the cyanocobalamin, there are some people that have what's called a MTHFR mutation. It's really rare, but they have this mutation, enzyme mutation, that they can't absorb the cyanocobalamin, and they need the methylcobalamin along with a coenzyme form. I think it's called adenosylcobalamin, and they have to take methylcobalamin with the adenosylcobalamin to absorb the B12. But it's such a rare MTHFR mutation, so rare, it's, you know, most people don't need to worry about it, but it would be picked up by your doctor where you're taking a B12 supplement, but your B12 is still low. Then they would probably check you for this MTHFR mutation, and then you would have to take this other form and the coenzyme. But again, it's so rare that 99% of people don't need to worry about it. But if you want to just kind of hedge your bet, you could do just one, alternate back and forth. But like Charlie said, Dr. Greger, most of the studies for benefits of B12 were done on the cyanocobalamin. It doesn't mean the methyl isn't good. It just means most of the data is on the cyano, and that's why he recommends that one. If you're just on the fence about which one, I would go with the cyano.
Well,
but
I was attracted to this one. This is what I take. It's Garden of Life, My Kind Organics, a non-GMO verified, whole foods from organic farms. It's all made from vegetable sources, and you know, it just seemed like that was what we were voting for.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but you answered my question. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions about supplements? We've talked about vitamin B12. How about vitamin D? Does anybody have any questions about that? I better kind of go back to the view so I can see who might be unmuting or raising their hand or whatever. So I'll give you the quick synopsis of vitamin D.
Before we go there, I do have a question.
Okay, Ken.
We just talked about, the word is sublingual?
Yes, sublingual.
Say that one more time.
Sublingual.
Under the tongue. Lingula means the tongue. So it's under your tongue. There you go. Somebody spelled it in the chat.
There you go.
And you said you could buy it bulk at Amazon, but I haven't been taking either one of them. I've been taking pills, and I do take Prilosec. So do that like Whole Foods, Natural Grocers. Can you get it locally?
I buy mine online from Amazon.
I know you can get it at most grocery stores, including Costco. I just don't know if they have the sublingual variety at those stores. I haven't shopped I know they have B12. I just haven't looked to see which version they have at Costco in different places. But if you can't find the sublingual, then you could buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, I get it at Market of Choice, if that's any help.
It's sublingual.
Both kinds.
Yeah.
Market of Choice.
Gary.
I know they have both types of B12, the one that starts with the C and the one that starts with the M at Natural Grocers. And also you can go in there and talk through the whole thing with somebody who's really good at vitamins. And if they don't have it, they'll either order it for you or they'll point you in the right direction in town.
I know that they sell it at Walmart out here in Cottage Grove.
Okay.
Both kinds.
All right, I wanted to go over vitamin D. If you're able to get it from the sun, that's great. Generally, if you're living in a latitude that is closer to the equator, you're doing good, and you may get enough sun. But living in Oregon, Dr. Greger recommends 2,000 international units a day for anyone who's living in Oregon because of the angle of the sun's rays. You just don't tend to get as much sun in the northern latitudes. And we tend to wear more clothes. We don't run around showing a lot of skin. And so you don't have a lot of surface area to produce vitamin D. So this may be something you want to discuss with your doctor or get some online testing of your vitamin D level. I will tell you, when I was aggressive with vitamin D testing in the past, when I had a regular practice, maybe at least half of the people I tested were low on vitamin D. And sometimes as many as 3 out of 4 people were low on vitamin D. And that's another reason why I encourage people to do what Dr. Greger says, take a couple thousand units of vitamin D on a daily basis. And, you know, some people could take more, up to 4,000 to 5,000 units a day and still be safe. You may want to test yourself after you've been taking 2,000 units a day during winter to make sure you're getting an adequate amount. Just my thought. Yeah, Scott, do you have anything to add to vitamin D?
No, just the D3 form and yeah, especially in the winter months. But I think the other thing too is there's some data that, you know, having a little higher level above 30 to 40 is kind of more the ideal. But if we're just trying to prevent fractures, 97.5% of all fractures are prevented as long as you have a vitamin D3 level, or DO8, which is the dihydroxy vitamin D. The vitamin D level is above 20. And so anything below 30 is considered low. And so that's probably, you know, as far as for bone fracture prevention, we have the bar set too high, but when it comes to optimal immune health and some other chronic diseases, we're kind of learning that maybe having a little higher, 30 to 40 or so, is probably better. But it's just, I wanted to share that just because, you know, if it's for whatever reason you want to take it, if it's just if you have osteoporosis and you're trying to prevent a bone fracture, as long as you're above 20, you're okay. But if you want optimal, then some of the newer studies are saying a little bit higher, like 30 to 40 on your blood level.
Yes, Ken. You want to unmute?
What's the factor called that on the test? It needs to be above to avoid bone fractures.
Oh, above 20. Above 20. Yeah,
and
to prevent. But yeah, 30 is what the most lab normals will say. Anything above 30 is normal. But as far as bone fracture prevention, the early elaborate study showed that 97.5% of all fractures were prevented as long as you were above 20 when it comes to vitamin D levels.
Is there a name for this factor, like
factor? What are you talking about?
I mean, like 20 what?
Oh, it's whatever the units are on the lab. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head what the
say you
coordinate or the measurement is.
You test yourself?
Well, insurance isn't liking to cover vitamin D levels anymore. I know you can, Charlie knows about ones you can order online, but unless you have vitamin D deficiency, most insurances won't cover vitamin D levels anymore. They used to cover them, but the last couple of years, I think they got tired of paying for so many tests, and so they stopped paying for them anymore, unless you have deficiency already on your list of history of problems.
So you talk with your doctor if you want a vitamin D level, and if you're at risk, they can order it through your insurance. We'll pay for it if you have a reason. If you don't, then it's probably going to cost around $200, $250 for the vitamin D level. If you order it online from an online company, you have to kind of stick your own finger and you put some blood on a piece of paper and 4 circles, and then you mail it back to them, and you have to use your computer, get online. You get a result, and when I did it, it was $50. Now it's probably $60, $70. I don't know what the charge is currently, but just a thought if you're trying to save money.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's carry on to the next issue. And we're going to go back here again and see what the next question has to do with. Antioxidant power varies among fruit and veggies. What might be some best choices? And we recommend you eat the colors of the rainbow daily. So let's go down to 25 and see what 25 has to say here. 25 says, here is the recommended daily allowance of antioxidants. I think you'll enjoy watching this for those of you who are new. And for those of you who are old, it's kind of interesting. I always enjoy watching it. So let's see what this video has to say.
Carbohydrate means basically hydrated carbon, carbon dioxide, and water, which is what plants use to make carbs with, and that's all that's left after we then burn them for energy to power our muscles and brain. But this process of oxidizing carbs to make energy is messy and generates free radicals, such that if we chug down straight sugar water, the level of oxidation in our bloodstream goes up over the next few hours. Why would our bodies evolve to have a negative reaction to our primary fuel? Because over our millions of years of evolution, there was no such thing as sugar water. All sugars and starches came prepackaged with what? With antioxidants. In nature, sugar always comes with phytonutrients. If you drink the same amount of sugar in the form of orange juice, you don't get that spike in oxidation. Why? Because the sugar in fruit comes prepackaged with antioxidants. Can't we just drink vitamin C enriched sugar water? No, it wasn't the vitamin C in the OJ, but the citrus phytonutrients like asparagine and naringenin that beat back the oxidation. If we don't eat phytonutrient-rich plant foods with every meal, like fruit, then for hours after we eat, our bodies are tipped out of balance into a pro-oxidative state, which can then set us up for oxidant stress diseases. The free radicals in our body can oxidize the fats in our blood, for example, and set us up for heart disease. Here's the levels of oxidized fat in our blood 1 to 3 hours after sugar water ingestion, and the corresponding drop in vitamin E levels in our blood as our body's antioxidant stores are used up within hours. If we don't eat phytonutrient foods with our meals, our body has to dip into its backup supply of antioxidants, and you can't get away with that for long. So while ideally we should stuff our faces with as many phytonutrient-rich foods as we can, in the very least we should eat enough antioxidants to counter the oxidation of digestion. At the very least, we don't want to slide backwards every day and end up with fewer antioxidants in our bodies than we woke up with. Just to break even, here's about how many antioxidants we need every day, depending on how much we eat, just to counter the oxidation of digestion. This is measured in millimoles of Trolox equivalents. Men in the U.S. average about 2,500 calories a day, and so should be getting at least 11,000 micromoles a day. Women who eat about 1,800 calories on average, so should get at least 8,000 just to stay solvent. The average American doesn't even get half the minimum. No wonder oxidant stress-related diseases abound. We're getting so few antioxidants in our diet, we can't even keep up with the free radicals created just digesting our meals. We are a nation in chronic oxidative debt. In developed societies, we eat a lot of food, but not enough plants, which could result in exaggerated and prolonged metabolic, oxidative, and immune imbalance, presenting opportunity for biological insult that over time could supersede biological defense and repair systems, manifesting in cellular dysfunction, disease, and ultimately death.
So I see a couple hands, but I have one more video that I want to play, because it's the one that is actually the fun video, which kind of shows you how much antioxidant you get for your buck with each food or various foods. This is the fun one.
To get up to our daily minimum of 8 to 11,000 antioxidant units a day, all we have to do is eat lots of fruits and vegetables, right? Well, let's see. Let's say I ate a whole banana for breakfast, in addition to whatever else I ate. Lunch included the typical American salad, iceberg lettuce, half cup of cucumber slices, canned peaches for dessert. Supper included a side serving of peas and carrots and a half cup of snap peas, along with yet another salad, and a cup of watermelon for dessert. I just ate 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, feeling all good about myself, and I only made it up to about 2,700, less than a quarter of the way to my minimum daily recommended intake. What am I supposed to do, eat 36 servings a day? Well, what if instead of that banana, I had a single serving of blueberries for breakfast? Whoa, we got to squish down the scale here. And instead of iceberg lettuce for that afternoon salad, 4 leaves of red leaf lettuce. Maybe throw some kidney beans on top, maybe a teaspoon of dried oregano as a bonus, an apple and some dates for a snack. It's not even supper time. I really just did 5 servings, and I've left the minimum recommended daily intake of antioxidants in the dust. That's why it's not just the quantity of fruits and veggies that matters, but quality. We should try to choose the healthiest ones. So if we do that, can we now skip fruits and veggies for supper? Never even made it there. Not a good idea. Note these estimated minimum antioxidant needs do not take into account the added amounts needed if other oxidant stressors are present, such as meat consumption if we're sick, cigarette smoke, air pollution, sleep deprivation. Then just to stay out of oxidative debt, we'd have to consume a lot more than the minimum. Remember that cool argon laser study? Their most important finding was that antioxidant levels can plummet within 2 hours of a stressful event. It takes 2 hours to lose, but can take up to 3 days to get our levels back up again. So the take-home message is that especially when we're sick, stressed, or tired, to go above and beyond the minimum 8 to 11,000, ideally we need to be soaking our bloodstream with antioxidants, which means high-powered fruits and vegetables at every meal, like berries or beans, and sipping something like green tea or hibiscus all day long.
Okay, we're ready to stop after that and take your questions, and I hope you see the benefit of choosing, carefully choosing what you're choosing to eat, so you don't have to eat 36 servings of fruit and vegetable a day to get your antioxidant needs. So let's take, I see Ken's hand first, and then Marcia. Ken, go ahead and unmute.
I'm sorry, I forgot to take my hand down.
Okay, Marcia.
Yeah, speaking of sugar water, back in the 70s, or I don't know if they still do, why did they offer or say to give your babies sugar water?
To calm them, because I know when they do circumcisions in the hospital, they usually give the newborn a little bit of sugar water just to calm them down, because it causes that dopamine, it makes you feel good. But so that's why a lot of times they'll say a little bit of sugar water to calm a baby.
Okay.
Not for any health reasons or any other reason.
Okay. I know that's when my first 3 kids were born in the 70s, and they said sugar water. So, and one of them was a girl. So why would they give them the same reason, calm them down for whatever?
Yeah, I don't know that they recommend that anymore, but I haven't been in pediatrics in a long time. But that'd be a good question for Dr. Colgrove when he's here to class.
It would.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Any thoughts about this? Were you surprised? You don't have to answer. I know I was when I saw that video for the first time. But by the time I saw it, I actually had been incorporating blueberries every day into my breakfast, based upon what Dr. Greger had been recommending. So we eat anywhere from 3/4 to a cup of blueberries every morning, along with whatever else we're eating. We also have a serving of beans, which is also high in antioxidants. We have about 3/4 of a cup of beans apiece, my wife and I. And so we're getting up there with the antioxidants, with whatever else we're eating. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, we still have a few.
I have a question.
Rowdy.
Is black beans more antioxidant than other beans?
Well, he said, what was it? Kidney beans had really high. I don't know if pintos or black have less.
I'm allergic to kidney beans.
What's that about kidney beans?
I'm allergic to kidney beans.
Well, eat other beans. He mentioned beans at the end. It doesn't have to be kidney beans, but
okay, yeah, okay.
But I don't know if it has the exact same amounts. I'm sure they're somewhat different, but
I'm putting in the chat. You can look up online for foods ORAC value. So ORAC. It stands for oxygen reactive absorptive capacity. Oxygen
reactive
absorbance capacity. Yeah, reactive absorbance capacity. I know every food has an ORAC value. I know Dr. Esselstyn uses that a lot when he's advising patients on heart disease to eat lots of high ORAC value fruits and vegetables. That helps fight inflammation.
I have a question. Romaine lettuce, is that very high in antioxidants?
Is what?
Romaine lettuce?
Romaine lettuce did not have a high antioxidant.
It's protein, I think. I got it mixed up. High in protein.
Well, I don't know that it's high in protein. It has some protein in it. It's sort of an introductory green, romaine lettuce. Not probably as healthy as the dark green kale and collard greens and chard.
I have, I got the spinach and the kale. I eat it every day.
Good. Well, you're having a variety of different greens, so romaine would be fine and it'll increase your microbiome. So keep at it. Okay.
Raising the cow.
Okay. So let's go back to the next number, whatever that number is going to be. And we'll see what we find here. We're going back to what spice reduces inflammation? And I think most of you, except maybe the new people might not know, but anybody want to speak up about what spice reduces inflammation?
Is it turmeric?
Yeah, good for you. And so we look over here and it's turmeric. Consider adding 1/4 teaspoon to your daily food choices. And he's got a good video on turmeric, curcumin, and rheumatoid arthritis, how it cuts down on inflammation, and why you would want to incorporate that in your diet.
How much was that?
1/4 teaspoon. It's a small amount.
Yeah.
And have it with a pinch of pepper because it's absorbed many hundred times more, a couple hundred times more, maybe a couple thousand times. I can't remember what it was, but it's a lot better absorption with
2,000.
2,000, there you go. So have a pinch of pepper with the turmeric and you'll get your best anti-inflammatory effect. Now, the next question will be, for those of you who are new and who still want to be eating bread and whole grains and that sort of thing, it's Dr. Greger's 5-to-1 rule. And this may help you in making a decision as to whether you're going to buy a certain kind of bread. I kind of tend to discourage you from buying processed foods like breads, but if you're transitioning, some of you may just need it for whatever reasons, whether you just feel better because of it or what. And if you're going to get bread, and we did this ourselves, so I understand that you want to have bread in your life. And if you do, we did follow this rule. So let's take a look and see what Gregor has to say about what you should be looking for.
When people think fiber, they think constipation. And it's true, if we could get Americans just to eat the minimum recommended daily intake of fiber-containing foods, we could save our country $80 billion, and that's just from the effects on constipation alone. Accumulating evidence indicates that greater dietary fiber intakes reduce risk for diabetes, heart disease, certain cancers, weight gain, obesity, diverticular disease, as well as constipation. So we need to eat more fiber-rich foods, which means eating more whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and legumes, beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. As fiber intake goes up, the risk of metabolic syndrome appears to go down. Less inflammation, and an apparent stepwise drop in obesity risk. And so, no surprise perhaps that greater dietary fiber intake is associated with a lower risk of heart disease, 9% lower risk for every additional 7 grams a day of total fiber consumed. That's just like some rice and beans or a few servings of fruits and vegetables. How does fiber do its magic? What are the mechanisms by which dietary fiber may extend our lifespan? Helps get rid of excess bile, feeds our good bacteria, changes our gut hormones, which collectively helps control our cholesterol and body weight, blood sugar, and blood pressure, which reduces the risk for cardiovascular disease. Reducing inflammation is a whole other mechanism by which fiber may help prevent chronic disease. The accompanying editorial to the Fiber and Heart Disease meta-analysis implored doctors to enthusiastically and skillfully recommend that patients consume more dietary fiber. That means a lot of whole plant foods. If, however, we do buy something packaged, the first word in the ingredients list should be whole, but then the rest of the ingredients could be junk. So a second strategy is to look at the ratio of grams of carbohydrates to grams of dietary fiber. We're looking for about 5 to 1 or less. So, for example, whole wheat Wonder Bread passes the first test, first word is whole, but then it's like corn syrup in a chemistry set. Let's see if it passes the 5 to 1 rule. What you do is divide the carbohydrates by the dietary fiber. 20 divided by 2.7 is about 7. That's more than 5, so it goes back on the shelf. Better than white, though, which clocks in at over 18. Now here's one that makes the cut. 15 divided by 3 equals 5. Can do the same thing with breakfast cereal. Multi-grain Cheerio sounds healthy, but has a ratio over 7, and then it just goes downhill from there. Here's an example of one that does make the cut, though sliding in under 4. The editorial concluded, the recommendation to consume diets with adequate amounts of dietary fiber may turn out to be the most important nutritional recommendation of all.
So let's go over this again to make sure that you have it down and that you're comfortable. And it seems to me like dividing, if you're a mathematician, you may be comfortable with division. To me, it seems easier to multiply. And one of the students came up with the suggestion that if you multiply the amount of fiber by the number 5, that's how much carbohydrate you could have. Anything under that amount of carbohydrate would be a satisfactory kind of bread or pasta. So if a product has 4 grams of fiber, it should have 20 grams of carbohydrate or less. If it has 2 grams of fiber, it should have 10 grams of carbohydrate or less.
And the one caveat I always like to throw in at this point is just to remind people that this 5-to-1 rule only applies to processed foods. Because if you look at a package of brown rice or quinoa or something like that, it doesn't necessarily meet the 5-to-1 rule, but that doesn't count because that's a whole grain in and of itself. It's not a processed food. So because you're thinking about it's something that's been refined and processed in some way. So how much fiber does it have added back in, and and how much sugar and other unhealthy things are in there. So just remember the 5-to-1 rule applies to just packaged processed foods, not to a whole grain or like a bean or something like that, because that's a whole food.
So I'm confused. 5-to-1, what is that?
So 5 grams of carbohydrate per serving for every 1 gram of fiber per serving. So on a package label, it'll say how many grams of carbohydrate are in a serving. You'll look at the serving size and it'll say, half a cup or 1 cup or whatever. And it'll say however many grams of carbohydrates in it in that serving and how many grams of fiber is in that serving. And so you want the carbohydrate to only be 5 times the amount of fiber or less. You want it to be a 5-to-1 ratio or 4-to-1, 3-to-1, 2-to-1. You don't want it to be more than a 5-to-1 ratio. And then another way to look at it too, when I do the food label reading class, and that's recorded on the website, the other dietitian rule for food label reading with fiber is if it has at least 3 to 4 grams of fiber in a serving, that's usually a pretty good sign that it's a whole grain, that it's pretty good. Because then if you figured that out, like say you had something that has 4 grams of fiber in a serving, chances are it's going to not have more than 25 grams of carbohydrate in there. So it's probably pretty close to the 5-to-1 rule, but that's just another way to do it if you're too confused with the 5-to-1. But
too much math maybe for y'all.
Yeah.
Here's a example. I don't eat processed oatmeal. I eat oat groats, pearl barley, maybe even rice.
Yep.
So when they manufacture this, things fall off the seeds and they don't get as much fiber in the end. That's why we eat whole grains, literally whole. And this has a sign that says all over it, it says heart healthy, heart healthy. And then it has dietary fiber is 4 grams, so it shouldn't have more than 20 grams of carbohydrates. 27.
Yeah, so remember what Scott was saying about this is a minimally processed, so it's close enough to the 5-to-1 that it would be much better for people to eat the oatmeal like you have in your hand there than eat some of the other cereals that are available.
Yeah, so Ken, read the ingredients list to everybody. That's the key. Yeah, read the ingredients list and I'll be able to tell you if it's processed or not. What are the ingredients?
It's 140 calories. And then total fat. Oh, you want
No, I didn't. No. I just want, what's the ingredients list?
It says oatmeal.
It says, is it just say oats? Is the ingredient list?
Whole grain rolled oats.
Is that it?
Yes.
So the 5-to-1 rule does not apply to that because that's a whole food. It hasn't been processed other than it's been, it lost, like you said, it lost some of the some of the fiber on the outside of it because it got rolled in a machine. The oat groat got rolled and pressed into a rolled oat. And so that's been packaged, but there's no added sugar, there's no chemicals, it's not processed. That's why it has a little bit more than the 5-to-1, but it's not, but that's a whole food. So it only counts if you're like, if you had read that and it said, you know, high fructose corn syrup, salt, sugar, you know, red dye number 4, you know, all the different, you know, chemistry, you look like you're reading a chemistry set and it has added sugar and things like that, then the 5-to-1 rule applies to that, because it's a really highly moderately to minimally to highly processed food, not that would be, like Charlie said, a minimally processed, because it just, you know, got rolled through a machine and smashed, the oat groat did. So that would be fine to eat that.
But on the same hand, Ken, I'd agree with you that eating groats has more fiber. It has the same oats. And so it is a healthier choice, but it's a bigger transition for people to make, to go from eggs and bacon to groats than it is to go to eggs and bacon to oatmeal, which they're more familiar with. So, you know, if people, and most people can do quite well with just eating the oatmeal that's like in the box you just showed us, be very healthy and happy doing that. But if they needed a little more fiber in their diet, they weren't quite getting the benefits, then we'd encourage them to do what we're doing. Eat the groats, eat the kamut that has even more fiber.
Great. I'm glad you showed that, Ken. That's great. Great example to show people.
All right. Who else?
I have a question.
Yes, Dorothea.
Where would you buy groats? Where do you find it?
Natural Grocers, Market of Choice. We just bought groats at Market of Choice. But you could buy it at any place that has bulk grains, like Winco, I imagine, or anybody else.
Yeah, Bob, I have a package from Bob's Red Mill. It's a oat groats, but yeah, you can get them in bulk, just like Charlie said, at Winco or wherever.
And Natural Grocers has it. And if you want to buy bigger bulk, which we sometimes do, Hummingbird has, you have to have a minimum order of $150 though. We buy our beans and groats and some walnuts at the same time if we have a big order like that. And then we put it in like 5-gallon buckets, 25 pounds of groats. Lasts us, I don't know, 6 months or so.
Wow.
Yeah. It's serious. Yes, go ahead.
Is grits good for you?
What's that?
Grits, are they good for you?
I didn't quite hear that.
Grits. You'd have to look at the label to see what's in it. So I don't know what all entails what grits. I mean, I know what grits are, but I would have to look at a label to know if it's a good choice or not.
Grits, like corn, how many grits, or I don't know. I've not eaten.
My daughter likes them.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I've looked at the fiber content in grits, and I was surprised that there's not that much fiber in them.
No, it's not.
It must be quite a bit of processing then, I guess, huh?
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
I think grits are just dried corn that's been cut up to a fine, like it's not a flour, but it's just corn, and corn is mostly a sugar.
Yeah, it's a starch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably just been a little bit too processed, but corn, if you're eating whole corn, that's much better because you're getting more of the fiber and everything in there. Hasn't been processed. So
I think
you're
it
fine
was
to eat
the
corn.
Incas who lived on corn, wasn't it?
Yeah, in South America, yeah.
Yeah.
The people of the corn, yep.
Right, but they had about 500 varieties of corn, and that's where they were able to get nutritional difference.
Yeah, the corn in those days down there was different than what we have here. But corn, overall corn, if you're just eating it, not putting butter on it, don't be afraid to eat corn. It's good for you. Still lots of phytonutrients and some fiber and lots of. It's not gonna nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah. One of my favorite places is Peru, and that's a corn nation. There's corn all the time. It's kind of a shorter. All the corn I've seen is a shorter cob and a little bigger diameter. People sell it on the streets. It's everywhere, and there's statues of it everywhere. They probably invented it because naturally it's a grass, and naturally it wasn't like this in nature. The Incas were quite the agronomists, and Incas, that's a family, and they lasted 9 generations and invented a lot of awesome things, especially irrigation systems. Thank you.
Huh. Cool. Thanks for the history. Any other thoughts or suggestions from anybody?
Well, I'd like to weigh in and give a vote for grits. I grew up in the South, and they are wonderful. In fact, they are the official food of some counties in Louisiana and Mississippi. But anyway, I get a very coarse grind, and it's a whole food, and it's absolutely delicious, even if it doesn't have a pound of butter on it.
Yeah, so I think that's been the problem with grits in the past, is the butter and whatever else that goes with it. There are other ways to prepare it, I suspect.
Yes.
I'm from New Orleans.
Oh, hi. I have family in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. So I'm used to, I don't eat it anymore, but I used to eat a lot of grits with butter on it. But not anymore.
That's pretty cute. All right. This has been a fun session. I hope the teenagers survived through this. Anyway, I'm curious if they have any questions about this, how they would deal with their friends and whatever.
They bowed out like after listening for a few minutes, but we've been vegetarians. They've been vegetarians their whole lives, and I think that I'm taking a fair amount from this that I will try to impart to them. So
we're trying to work on what we're working on is trying to figure out how to get more variety into our diet. We've got some various food sensitivities, and they're teenagers, so they have gotten a little specific taste that they like, and we're trying to figure out how to get everybody eating more variety of food. And so that's one thing that we're interested in, is new stuff. We've gotten in kind of ruts, and both of the kids could use some expansion of their palate.
I see. So that's another reason for coming to the classes, because we do at times talk about recipes and food and choices. And I think the next class, Scott, were you planning on doing a little bit of holiday stuff?
Well, I figured I'd share with everybody so they could bring their holiday recipes and things, but also in the open forum. But we have to finish up these questions next week. But we also have the holiday recipes I showed there. We also have classes recorded on meal planning, that has things. And then on the website, there's all kinds of recipes and cookbooks that there you could try if you're want more choices. You know, whole food plant-based cookbooks are on the website there, ones we recommend. And then as far as motivation, I mean, it sounds like they're already pretty motivated, but I'm assuming they've already seen the Game Changers movie on Netflix.
I don't think that they've seen that, but they're motivated by various reasons. Sports is a big one. One of my kids had a stress fracture from last year in sports, and that was really devastating because at this level of play, they're competitive, and to have to sit out for part of the season with a stress fracture was, so there's a big motivation there to get good nutrition.
So that definitely, you should definitely have them watch the Game Changers on Netflix. It's all about athletes, professional athletes and everything that are eating plant-based. So yeah, it'd be a great one for them to watch.
That's a good thing. And then I have some chronic health problems myself, a lot of inflammation, as you were saying earlier. So I'm interested in it for that reason. We all have hypermobility and migraines. So so the kid, we're working on a lot of strength training stuff and physical therapy to build up muscle to support the joint laxity. So we have a very overlap. We have there's a lot of motivation going on in the household. So we just really want to look at, the problem is just it's hard to go when you've had a very limited palate to be like, oh, we all love the idea of being like, here's a whole wide, but we don't really necessarily know how to cook it, what to do. We don't like it, some of it. I mean, you know, it's a whole lot of hurdles to overcome to go from, the kids would like to just like eat pizza or have some tacos. And we're like, what if we had this amazing, Randy will make some quinoa salad and he'll do something like that. And they'll be like, ew, that looks like eyeballs. No, I'm not eating that. It's gross. And we're like, okay, but now we're like, how do we go from where we are to, this is where we're challenged at, is because just because they like it conceptually, they're smart kids. How do you go from being a family we're vegetarians, sure. And they eat a lot healthier than a lot of kids I know, but that doesn't mean that we're at a point we want to be at. So that's where we're looking for some guidance, is how do we get from like, sure, we don't eat meat and we don't eat a lot of like fatty food. My kids don't even really like cheese that much. We don't eat terrible, but we're not eating as varied and stuff as we need to be or want to be. So that's what we would love some.
Great. We'd love for you to have you stick around for lots more classes. And
their pediatrician sent us an instruction, said, this is what we think you guys need to go at first off. So here we are. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
So where do I find, you mentioned it earlier, where do I find on the website that list of all the foods to cook for Thanksgiving?
Oh, weren't you here at the beginning when I showed it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me show again. It's under the recipes section.
Okay,
so
recipes.
So here's the home page, and then you just click on recipes, and it's right here, holiday meal planning and recipes. Just click that, and that takes you to that document. And then for the new people too, under resources, we have recipe websites and cookbooks and everything, so you can check out if you want more variety and whatnot. But yeah, sticking with the classes for a while, watch some of the recorded classes. You can handpick the different topics and just kind of start. It's a process. Charlie and I always talk about how it's like learning to ride a bicycle or play a musical instrument. It's not it takes time, repetition, and it takes time. So it's not nothing that's going to happen overnight or even in a few weeks or a few months. It's going to take a long time to just kind of chip away at it and learn more and more.
Thank you much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So sometimes you get to ask questions right at the end, quick questions. So bananas, and do they really get more sugar the older they get? So I keep seeing on the internet that you should eat green bananas because when they turn yellow, they make more sugar. I don't understand that. What's the truth?
Well, it's just that it's more, the glycemic index goes up it gets absorbed in your digestive tract faster the riper it is. So it's better to eat it when it's a little bit more on the green side, because there's more resistant starch in there. So it's not that there's necessarily more fiber. It's just that as it ripens, it it breaks down more, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so then the glycemic index is higher the riper it is, so it gets absorbed into your system, turns to sugar faster than if it's a little bit greener. But still, it's right banana is still a healthy thing to eat. It's just you're trying to, say you have diabetes or something and you're trying to lower the glycemic index of your food choices, then probably if you're going to eat a banana, it's probably better to eat it when it's a little bit greener. So that's just one example.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we've made it past another hour and a half. And it's been fun as usual. We plan on coming back again next week. We should finally get to
the end of the 35 by next week finally.
We're taking our time, aren't we?
Yeah.
But we're having fun with it. And we're good. We're getting closer bit by bit. But anyway, we wish you all well, and we'll talk with you again next week. And I guess Thanksgiving will be the following week.
No, Thanksgiving's next week. So our next class is 2 days before Thanksgiving.
So we need to, I guess, talk a little bit about recipes, what we're all going to be doing for Thanksgiving. So we've got one expert with us, Lisa Chick, the med student who is started the Facebook page, and kudos to you. There's over 300 participants now, 303, 304.
We're coming up on that Facebook group's 1 year anniversary, I guess. It's almost been a year since we started it. But the class before Thanksgiving is always my favorite, just to see what everyone makes and talking about the different variety of things. And like Scott said, it's like easier to eat healthier or eat more vegetables during the holidays. And I think it's a lot of fun. And I haven't been on here for a little while, but if anyone is interested in some one-on-one health coaching with me, just personally, I'm happy to get in contact with you for free, of course. So I'll put my email in the chat.
So for anyone who's interested, there have been a number of people who have been helped by Lisa over this last year. So I'd encourage you to don't drag your feet, just go ahead and get in touch with her, and she's happy to help you out, and it's a valuable resource. And Vonda also with you started this, so I want to give Vonda credit for starting the website also. But it's been great. All right, Scott, any last words?
No. Have a great week, everybody, and hope the new people can continue coming and spreading the word, and want to continue to grow the classes and the group and our community here. So welcome.
Very good. Okay, everybody. Till the next time.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Welcome.